Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. It's good to have everyone here. I can see Vivian. Thank you for joining. I see Cheche. I don't know if I'm correct, but please bear with me. I can also see Olatokunbo Demola. Thank you. I think this person was on our last webinar. Thank you for joining again. So before we get into it, I'd like to get to meet you. So tell us your name and where you're joining from. Let's quickly do that in the chat box. Your name and where you're joining from. Thank you. If you want to speak, you're free to. You're free to do that. You can unmute and speak. I think I saw someone do that just now. Okay, I'm waiting. Before we get into it, before we get into what we have for today's subject. Today I have cold. The weather has been funny. So thank you. I see Vivian from Lagos. So we're in Lagos. I see Olatokunbo from Lekki. Oh, interesting. And Cheche from Imo. Oh, nice. Hi, goodness. Thank you for joining in. We'd like to meet you. Tell us where you're joining from, your name and where you're joining from. Okay. While we wait for goodness, let's just get into it. So, good afternoon once again, everyone, and thank you for joining. I hope you're having a productive day, a productive last day of the week, because tomorrow is public holiday. I hope you're excited, right? Thank you for joining once more. And if you're not new to us, to our webinar, you know that we don't like to gatekeep. Now that you've joined, you're about to have an interesting session with us. We would like you to share to a friend, a colleague, or a team member that you know that will benefit from today's conversation. So feel free to share the link to them and then register and also benefits. Like we said, we don't gatekeep here in Crossstyle. My name is Ademide Adeboye, and I'll be your host for today's session. So thank you for joining once again. And if you're wondering, okay, I just saw a webinar. I see Crossstyle Solutions. I see psychological safety. What's this about? Or who are these people? We are Crossstyle Solutions, right? And we're a people development and management consulting organization committed to helping individuals and businesses to achieve peak performance and productivity in what they do. Right, we have several trainings from leadership to workplace effectiveness to customer service, customer success, right? And we also have consulting interventions, right, that equip professionals with practical skills for today's workplace. And we have this monthly webinar series. Is part of our commitment to providing accessible, relevant, and impactful learning opportunities for professionals across every level, whether you're entry, you're junior, you're senior, your leadership, whatever level you are, you would always benefit from our monthly webinars. So it's our way of giving back, right? And today, before I get to that, over the years, we've talked about several interesting topic, right? And what's one way to put all of these topics together? I mean, it's all about being productive in the workplace, right? We've talked about data, we've talked about speaking up, we've talked about leadership and all of those things. But there's one core thing that is at the center of all of that, right? Which is psychological safety. Because it's very important. It's like I said, it's in the middle, it's in the core of all these things, all other things that we've spoken about. And here's a question. Have you ever been in a meeting in a meeting where you've held back a question, a suggestion, or a contribution, or maybe an opposing view? Maybe everybody's going in a direction, and you think that I think I have an opposing view to this thing. I think there's another direction I'm looking at this, but you weren't so sure, so you kept it to yourself. You don't know how they're going to receive it. Perhaps you're worried about, being judged, or maybe you feel like your voice wouldn't make so much difference. Or have you ever experienced any of these feelings at one point in time? I want to believe that every one of us at some point in our career journey, we have experienced this, right? And the reality is, almost everyone at one point in time has experienced this. And these people, or we that we have experienced it, at that point, we actually have valuable ideas, insights, and perspectives that could have changed the trajectory of the conversation in that room. But because we didn't feel safe or bold enough to actually speak up, we didn't say anything, right? And today we want to dive deep into this conversation because we think it's very, very important. And we'll be exploring what psychological safety actually means, why it matters, how to build trust, and what practical steps individuals, leaders, employees, whether you're junior level, senior level, whatever level you are, as long as you work in a organization, what you can actually do to make the space or the workplace safe for everyone. And we know about it. Who is the best person for this conversation or to take us on this journey? And it's no other person than our facilitator today. So let's get into it. Sorry. I'm not sure I can see my screen. Okay, thank you so much. So our facilitator for today is Mrs. Ogechi Eleojo. She is the head L&D CardinalStone, a certified EQ coach. We call us Coach Ogechi because I'm a beneficiary of one of our initiatives, right? So I call her Coach Ogechi. So please permit me to refer to her today as Coach Ogechi. So she's a learning and development professional with extensive experience designing and delivering learning systems that drive organizational performance. She has held senior L&D roles across financial services and outsourcing, including serving as Dean of Pupil Academy at Wemerberg for nearly 4 years. She currently leads learning and development at CardinalStone, where she aligns learning strategy with business goals. She's a certified emotional intelligence professional and coach. She founded EQ and Careers, a platform empowering African professionals with career advancement and emotional resilience too. And if you have been in any of this conference or this particular one, I'm sure that you can say for yourself that it's always an interesting one, right? When you come, you get to understand how, with just emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, how you can advance in your career, moving from one level to the other. And it's always amazing, like seeing young people understand the workplace, career advancement, and emotional intelligence. She's known for translating performance gaps into scalable, well-designed learning interventions, blending instructional design expertise with a system thinking approach to capability building. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have in the room on the call Coach Oge. Please, with a clapping emoji, clapping ovation, if you would call it, let's welcome our facilitator for today. Okay, I can't see our emojis yet. I can only see thumbs up. I want a clapping emoji. Right.
Good morning. Oh, it's afternoon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I don't know where you're joining from. Hi, Ademide. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Good afternoon, Coach Oge.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I mean, those claps are just a lot for me. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you, Cheche, Vivian, Goodness, Victor, Ify. Okay, Noah. Thank you, Noah, for changing your name. I had seen Techno before. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Ugonwa Adebayo. Thank you so much, guys. I see Silas Bello. Okay, these are my co-hosts. Thank you, Olato Kumbo, Demola Salami. Thank you for having me here. I'm truly so delighted to be here. And then we are having a very critical conversation, something I consider very important, right? So it's going to start from how we drive this session this afternoon. So psychological safety simply says speaking up and not being afraid of speaking up. The signs of psychological safety is that people feel comfortable. People feel comfortable to speak, right? Comfortable to speak up, comfortable to ask questions. People feel comfortable to challenge ideas. People feel comfortable to share their own perspective, right? So we're going to start that psychological safety here in this session. So what that means is that throughout this session, I would want to encourage us to use the chat section, please. Use the chat section, use the raise hand tool, ask questions, disagree if you need to, right? And share your experiences. Very, very important. Share your experiences, because if we're talking about psychological safety, we should have that on this call. So there are no perfect answers. We are here to learn together. No perfect answers. No correct or incorrect answers, right? Because a psychologically safe workplace is one where people sit in meetings and they're able to express themselves well enough. They're able to ask questions well enough, right? So if you disagree with anything, please put it in the chat section and say, this one doesn't work for me. If something doesn't resonate with you, please put it and say, okay, can you please clarify more? If you need more details, please ask for that, right? So I would like to hear from every one of us here on this call. Okay, so you can move to the next slide. So what is psychological safety? You know, I know organizations take safety very critical. How many of us have done health, safety, and environmental training this year? You've done it in your organization. Just indicate, maybe with a raise of hand or in the chat section. Thank you so much, guys, for responding. I see project manager, Victor, aspiring HR professional. Beautiful, thank you. So if you know that your organization where you're working has done HSC, so I see HSC 1, 2, 3, beautiful. They've done HSC training, amazing. Let's keep that coming. You guys have done some safety trainings. You've been taught how to, in fact, this year, my organization, we've run a couple of safety trainings, from fire safety to also safety while outside the office. So around security issues, we've done all those kind of trainings. But guess the training that we rarely do in our organizations? Psychological safety. You know, as a matter of fact, HSC is a core. In fact, it has the highest score with ITF. If you know what ITF means, Industrial Training Fund. HSC training has the highest score, or one of the highest score. But psychological safety, which is very critical, is something we rarely pay attention to. And that is what we are looking into this afternoon. HSC and advanced safety. In fact, you even went to advanced level, Noah. So let's talk about psychological safety. What does that mean? So what does psychological safety mean for you? Please, in the chat section, like I said, we will start practicing psychological safety right from this call. What does it mean for you? Please, in the chat section, let me see your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Let's share your thoughts with you in the chat section. Quickly type it out. And if you want to speak, I would absolutely love that. You can use the raise hand tool and I will give you that opportunity to speak. I think it means a clear, mental, safe environment. I love that, Victor. A clear, mental, safe environment. Amazing. So let's keep it coming. What does psychological safety mean for you? What does it mean? When you hear psychological safety, what does that mean? You know, in clear terms, I see atmosphere where people feel safe to speak up without fear of punishment, embarrassment, rejection. Amazing. Thank you, Nan. Thank you. Olatokumbo says preempt or pre-aware or be alert. Preempt. Okay, Tokumbo, I'm trying to understand what you've typed. Preempt or pre-aware of the alert. What does this mean? Tokumbo, do you want to explain further? You can unmute and speak, and that's absolutely fine. What does that mean? So let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Tokumbo, you can explain by typing, or you can use the raise hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. It's just to be at alert, to be on your toes, so that this thing will not catch you on our way.
Okay, so to be at alert so that what will not catch us unaware? What exactly?
The risk now, the safety risk or safety exposure.
Safety exposure. Are you talking about physical safety or psychological safety?
I'm talking about psychological safety.
Psychological safety. Okay, so much. So clearly this session is to get us aware, both as leaders, get us aware as professionals, get us aware both at individual level, at a team level, at an organizational level. We need to be aware because these are the things that I see slip through the cracks. These are things that I see we miss out on. We don't even know. And when you're not aware of all these things, you fall victim because ignorance is not an excuse. The fact that you don't know that there's a thing called psychological safety, and unfortunately, it is stealing from you as a person. It is stealing from you as a team lead, stealing from the organization, stealing from the business, stealing from your bottom line as well. So many organizations are very intentional about physical safety, like I said earlier. But we have them fire drills, emergency exits. In fact, you see all those things, safety cautions, policies around safety. We have that put together. But physical safety and psychological safety are not the same thing. They are totally different. An employee can sit in a physically safe place. Oh, this place is safe to be. This office is a safe place. And when I say safe, the chairs are ergonomic, right? And we don't have wires all around. We have different points of exit in case there's any fire outbreak. So the person feels physically safe. But the question is, how psychologically safe are our people? So if you're a young professional growing your career here, you want to ask yourself, how psychologically safe am I in this organization? So we're going to talk about things that show that one is psychologically safe. And then, so for the individual, the young professional, you're going to learn what shows that you are psychologically safe. Because sometimes people don't even know what this thing is, but they are suffering from it, right? They're having mental issues as a result of it. They are having depression as a result of it. But they don't know what it is. And then for team leads are doing certain things. Heads of departments, leaders in organizations, acting in ways that are stealing this safety from their people. And some of them are not aware of it. And I can tell you, some of them are not aware of it. Everyone is complaining. The team member is complaining. The manager is complaining. But the issue is still biting because we have not identified it. So I see, okay, speak up without fear of punishment. Thank you, Noah. Goodness says an environment where you can speak up, make mistakes, be yourself without fear of being judged or embarrassed. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what psychological safety looks like daily, these are the things. So these are the things you will see in an organization, you will see in your team, and you will know that, oh yes, I'm psychologically safe here. 1, freedom to ask questions. Freedom to ask questions. People are not afraid to ask questions. People are not afraid to ask questions. People admit their mistakes. You make a mistake, you admit it. Oh, sorry, it was my fault. It was my bad. You make a mistake, you admit that you have made a mistake. Even the leader makes a mistake and admits that, yes, I've made a mistake. Oh, that was an error from my own end. We're not trying to push blames. So these are the things you will see and know that here is a psychologically safe place. Psychological safety is beyond talk, is beyond what we write down, is beyond what we think, is about our daily behavior, about our daily interactions with our people, with your colleagues, daily interactions. And psychological unsafe place can emanate from an interaction with a colleague. It can be with your boss. It can be with anyone, right? So it's most times it can be with anyone actually. So it mustn't just be from just the boss alone. It could be from a colleague, a fellow team member, maybe the person sitting next to your seat. It could come from the person. So these are the things you will see. You are afraid to ask questions. You are afraid to admit mistakes. You are afraid to challenge ideas. Afraid to give feedback. Afraid to report concerns. You have concerns about something, but you're afraid to say it. You don't want to report. You don't want to say you don't know, so that people don't think that you are not smart. You don't want to own up. People don't want to own up to say they don't know. Everybody feels smart, whereas there are issues, but people are busy feeling smart. You don't ask for help, sharing ideas. No. You don't disagree to things that you really don't agree to. It's okay to disagree with things. But unfortunately, when you come to an unsafe place, you find it difficult to publicly disagree. You don't raise risk. Maybe there's a risk that you have noticed, but you're afraid to talk about it, and then people are afraid to learn from failure. They would rather own up, chest up, and feel like Igbos will say Ogechi, right? I feel like all is well. I got it all figured out. We don't want to own our mistakes. We don't want to learn from our mistakes. People are not themselves at work. So these are signs of an unsafe place. People don't want to talk because they feel somebody will ridicule them. People don't want to ask questions because they feel somebody will embarrass them, or they will feel like they are not smart. So these are signs of unsafe environment. So apart from these signs that I've mentioned, what other signs do you think there are in a psychologically unsafe environment? What other signs have you noticed? Maybe in your organization or maybe elsewhere, or signs that you have read about? What other signs? What other signs? Can I have us in the chat section? And also, if you want to speak, it's okay to use the raise hand tool, and I will give you that opportunity to speak. What other signs? Very quickly, in the next 30 seconds, what other signs? What other signs have we discovered? Discrimination. Thank you. Discrimination. That's a sign of unsafe place, a psychological unsafe place. Gatekeeping. Gatekeeping. Can you throw more light on this gatekeeping, Nan? It would help us. Then Tokumba says, when you are not allowed to talk, oh my goodness, no freedom of speech. But that's evil. So these are signs of psychologically unsafe place. Thank you so much, guys. And these things are eating from us. They are eating from the organization. Can you move forward on my slide, please? Can you move forward, Ademide? They are stealing from us as professionals. Yes, we've talked about all this. Just keep moving, keep moving. I think we've talked about this psychological safety and all that. Keep moving. So what's this one? 4 stages. Okay, 4 stages of safety, inclusion, safety. Beautiful. The next one, because I want us to talk about why psychological safety is important. I want us to go there. So these are 4 stages of safety: inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, challenger safety. That means you feel included. You feel part of the organization. You feel part of the team. You just joined the firm today, and you feel part of them. You feel part of them. And then learner safety means you're open to learning, because people are not feeling smart up and down. You're open to learning from mistakes, learning from another person, learning from a junior colleague, learning from the driver, learning from the cleaner. You can learn from anyone. You can learn from anyone. So having that ability to learn, that liberty to learn without shaming, that shows these are stages of psychological safety. We have a contributor safety. So from the point where you have joined the firm, you feel included, then you are learning about the firm, then you feel, at this point I can contribute, and you can freely do that. And then at the point, you feel safe to challenge some things that you don't agree with. I mean, challenging politely, challenging respectfully, challenging when you need to challenge things that you don't agree with, right? So you don't swallow them up and feel like, oh, let me just keep quiet. This is the only job I have. Some people will tell you, I've not found another job yet. I've not found another. I heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of that in many organizations. They will tell, say what? I've not found another job yet, please. Until I get another job. That's a psychologically unsafe place, especially when people say this thing and they mean it. I was in a session with a business team sometime last year, and that session was a retreat, and that particular session was about talking heart to heart with the people. So we had the business leader there, we had everyone on the team there. I mean, it was a full session. People were supposed to air their grievances. Ahead of the session, we had deployed a survey to get people's feedback. We got feedback, and the feedback were not looking good. It was clear that there are issues in this team. But guess what, guys? On that day, in that session, nobody could speak. The business leader was there. Other business leaders were there. HR was represented there. People couldn't speak. It got to a point where we started moving around to ask people, guys, they were just looking at them somewhere. Some were just using sign language. They couldn't speak up. And what I heard was, if they say anything, it will be used against them after the call. So that is a terrible state to be in. A terrible state to be in. Let's move to the next slide. I see Nancy, gatekeeping, controlling access to information, opportunities, participation, and deciding who is allowed to contribute or be included. Only certain people are allowed. Beautiful. To speak in meetings, senior staff dismissing ideas from junior employees. Terrible. Information being withheld unless someone earns it. Absolutely correct. Now, these are clear issues that we're having today in some workplaces. But we can make a difference. And that difference starts from us. It starts from how we respond to psychological unsafe conditions, and also how we ensure that where we are is psychologically safe for others. It could even be in your house. It could be in your neighborhood. It could be in your church or in mosque. It could be in the market. It could be anywhere with your friends. How psychologically safe are people with you? So now on the slide, we have the fear at work. Fear-based cultures look productive on the surface, but underneath they erode everything. Sometimes we feel that we want to use high-handedness to lead people. What's that style of leadership again? Autocratic leadership. We want to use high-handedness. But while there are advantages, there are also disadvantages. Autocratic leadership can lead to unsafe environments. Autocratic leadership can lead to psychologically unsafe environments. And in an environment where there is fear, before people would open their mouth to talk, they will have to think and think and think. But unfortunately, in the process of innovation, in design thinking, any idea is an idea. There's no idea that you throw away, you keep it on the side. You still take it and keep it. There's no idea that is null and void. But unfortunately, people are going to keep filtering, and sometimes they filter out what is going to be useful for the organization. But in a place where people are psychologically safe, ideas are shared openly and early. Anytime it comes to their mind, they share. There's an avenue for people to share, right? So in a fear-based thing, people hide their mistakes and look for who to blame, right? But in a place that people feel psychologically safe, they acknowledge their mistakes and they learn from it. They acknowledge and they learn from it. And in a fear-based team, people don't want to take risk. They don't want to take risk. Even this risk, if the risk is required for the business to move forward, they would rather not take it. Because somebody did the same thing last year. See what happened to the person. I would not. I love my family. I don't have another job yet. I need money. So people now start hinging on what they need instead of what will help the organization. So you see how much these unsafe places can cost organizations. If we're in a place that is psychologically safe, people are encouraged and celebrated, right? You take a risk, even if it doesn't go well. Nobody wants to kill you over it. Nobody wants to crucify you. You know, we see that, okay, it's a risk. So long as it was done with the process, right? It was duly done with process well followed. People are celebrated for even trying something out. You know, in a fear-based team, compliance is seen over contribution. You need to comply. You need to do this. It's a lot of it. When you preach compliance a lot, people tend to lose their creativity. But if you come to a place where there is psychological safety, there's mutual accountability at all levels. Everyone feels part of the business. Everyone wants to contribute. People are sharing ideas because they want things to work out. And then in a fear-based team, people would rather be passive. They can show up for meetings, but they will not talk. You know, and for virtual meetings today, you can be there. They are there. Their name is there. And they are there because they know if they don't come, HR is going to be after them. Their manager is going to look for them and maybe to punish them or something, right? They'll just log in and stay there, but they won't say a word. And that's terrible, right? But in a psychological safe place, people are active and invested in what the team is discussing. Can we have the next slide, please? So keep going, keep going. I want to see everything on the screen. Building trust daily. Building trust daily. So how do you build trust? Modeling vulnerability, right? So I think before I even go to talking about how we can build psychological safety, before I talk about it, I want us to talk about why is it important? Why is it important? I think it's in the next slide. That slide that has some charts and some percentages. If you can quickly go to that slide, you know. So let's talk about why. Why is it important? Why is that beautiful? Why is psychological safety important? It helps innovation. It helps retention. It helps innovation because people are being creative. People are sharing ideas. People are speaking up. It helps innovation. It helps retention. People feel valued. They feel valued. Of course, you would agree with me. If you don't feel valued in a place, you don't want to stay there. People feel part of the business. They feel part of the team. It helps retention. When people wake up in the morning and coming to work, their mind is already beating. Oh my goodness. Recently, somebody spoke to me and said, each time she wakes up to go to work, her heart is beating. Why? Because of the unsafe practices in the organization. Not physical safety, clearly psychological safety. People are more productive. You see the percentages? People are more productive when they're psychologically safe. Even you as an individual, you're more productive to the organization. You're more productive to yourself when you are psychologically safe. And that is why, beyond organizations driving psychological safety, individuals, we need to ensure that we take psychological safety very, very important. And it starts from you ensuring that the place you are, the people that are with you are psychologically safe. Okay, I'm sure Ademi, they will respond to this now. I'm sure they will respond to that. Yeah. So it starts from you. You know, somebody said that if you want to change the world, where do we start from? If you want to change the world, where do you start from? You start from where? I want us to type the answer in the chat section to be sure that we are getting what I'm saying. If you want to change the world, where do you start? If you want to change the world, where do you start? Start from yourself. Beautiful. Thank you, Victoria. So if you know that to change the world, you need to start with yourself, please type it myself. Start from myself, myself. That means how safe, how psychologically safe are people around you? How psychologically safe are people around you? Are you the kind of person that somebody talks and then you look for a way to, some of us can be, what's that word again? Sarcastic. That's the word. Sarcastic. And because of your sarcastic nature, people don't want to speak around you anymore. They will not come to ask you questions because they know that if they come to ask you the question, you're going to sound very annoying. You're going to sound very sarcastic. You're going to embarrass them. They'd rather just keep short. So this is at an individual level. So I want to ask myself a question. How psychologically safe are people around me. And then we can go to teams. How psychologically safe is my team? Because if you are a person that projects psychological safety, it will extend in your team. So if both of us are in a team, let's say we have 4 of us in our team, right? And then we have our team lead. I'm projecting psychological safety. You are doing the same. The other person doing the same. Our team lead doing the same. It's going to be a very beautiful place to be, a very beautiful workplace to come to. So you see why we must drive psychological safety. So at an organizational level, if there's no safety, it drains innovation. It hits retention. People keep leaving for no just reason. And they won't even tell you why they're leaving because they're even afraid. They're afraid of telling you why they're leaving. People keep leaving. Attrition rate keeps increasing year on year. Productivity keeps deepening because of psychological safety. Well-being is being eroded, and then people are not taking risk. And there's no how you can do business without risk. There's no how you can innovate without risk. Life on its own is even a risk. Can we move on to the other slide that talks about how? Yes, that slide that talks about how. Okay, the next one, the next one, the next one. So now that we know what psychological safety means, we know why it is important. Even for you as an individual, why is it important? I need it for my sanity. I need it for my sanity. I can't dwell. Permit me to use the word dwell. I can't dwell in a place where there is no psychological safety. I can't stay there. I can't thrive there. I definitely will find a way to shield myself from that kind of condition because it's not good for the mind. And your mind is the center of your life. So how do we establish psychological safety? Model vulnerability. Leaders, model vulnerability. It's okay to make mistakes. You're not perfect. You're not an angel. Even if you're called an angel, somebody could call you an angel as a nickname, or maybe angel is even your name. But you are not an angel in terms of your output. You make mistakes. We make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect, no matter how excellent you are. So embrace vulnerability. It's okay to say, oh, guys, I came late today. Oh, I woke up very late. In fact, I woke up by 7:30. That's why I couldn't come early today. But clearly, it shouldn't be an everyday habit, right? It shouldn't be an everyday habit. But being vulnerable so that the people you're leading would see that, oh, mistakes, it's not bad at all. What is bad is not correcting your mistake. That is what is bad. So be vulnerable. Be vulnerable. Be vulnerable. You made a mistake in that transaction. Be vulnerable. Oh, that was my bad. I forgot to do this. Be vulnerable. It would help people to see you at that level and know that, oh, my leader is open to, and people will be more driven to go all out for the business because they know that even if mistakes happen, nobody is going to kill me. Nobody will crucify me. But I need to learn from my mistakes. And then reward speaking up. Reward speaking up. Guess what happened today, guys? So my team member reached out to me. Funny enough, okay, she wasn't, yesterday she said she wasn't feeling well and then she needed to go to the hospital. I said, of course, please go and take care of yourself, right? And then today, yes, she's working from home, but of course, expected to do some work, right? So I had told her what to do. So she's not coming to the office because of her health, but at least I thought she could do some things from the house. I told her what to do, do this, do that. I had given her the instruction of what to do. Guess what happened after a while? She got back to me, sent me a chat and said, let me even see if I can, I would just hide the mail. He says, sorry to bother you. I don't think I'll be able to do any more work today. I had hoped to gather some strength and get a few things done, but I'm starting to feel feverish and weak again. And the headache is coming back. I would like to take my medication and get some rest. Oh my goodness. And then she now told me what she was able to do and where she stopped. When I saw this, my heart was lifted. You know why? She could have that liberty and that comfort to tell me I'm not able to do more work. Why? It is because she feels psychologically safe around me. She feels psychologically safe at work. And to ensure that I make her feel comfortable, I told her, thanks for speaking up. I appreciate it. Please take care of yourself. So people should get to this level with you as a leader. If you're scared of telling your team lead or the head of your department this kind of a thing, you're scared of saying it, then there's a problem. There's a problem. It's either you have that habit of not doing your work when you're supposed to do it, or the team has issues with psychological safety, and it's something you need to look into. Be vulnerable. Speak up when you need to. Make it safe for people to fail or people to fall. Make it safe. It's safe. You know, when the child is growing and the child is learning to stand and walk, and then the child falls. If the child falls, and then you shout, hey! The child falls, and then you scream. Guess what happens to that? What happens to that child? What happens to that 1-year-old that is trying to learn how to stand or walk, and then the person now falls, and then you scream? What happens to the child? In the chat section, guys, I need to be sure you're with me. She starts crying. The child starts crying. But the same fall would happen. And then you say, oh, my big boy, you can do it again. Guess what? The same child that would have cried would just stand up and maybe even giggle a bit. It may be painful. Even if the child cries for the pain, the child would feel bolder and more confident. So let's make it safe for people to fail. How do you make it safe for people to fail? When people fail, don't scream at them. Especially if it is the first time failure. Don't scream at them. Don't. Find out, okay, why did this happen? How can we correct it the next time? What do we do so it doesn't happen? You know, and then you encourage the person, oh, thank you for even trying, depending on what the situation is. Now, this is not a ticket to people failing at all times or doing things that they're not supposed to do in the business. Right? So what I'm trying to say is make it safe for people to fail. Make it safe. Make it safe, because failure is part of success. Failure is part of success. Can I have my next slide, please? Failure is absolutely part of success. You know, so let's talk about how do we ensure psychological safety, right? The kind of words you use, the kind of words you use. I'm trying to expand my screen so I can see this thing a bit clearer. Okay. So now here on the screen we have, I notice we keep revisiting this issue in meetings. And the next one says, I have noticed we return to this often. Can we set away time to solve it together? Right? So look at these two things. So instead of this, you're saying that emotional intelligence. Thank you, Nan. You know, you need to reframe your sentences when you're speaking to people. Reframe your sentences. Reframe it. And this one said, I wonder, why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way? And he said, I'm curious about the reasoning. Could you help me understand the approach? Right? And then I feel dismissed when I raise concerns. When input is not taken up, I find it hard to stay engaged. Can we talk about how we handle ideas? You know, so these are basically a way to reframe. Speaking up is a skill. Here's how to reframe common moments of silence into acts of courage. Just reframing your words. If you're giving feedback to someone, reframe it. Reframe it. I see something from Salvation. It says, do you need pros and experts for your MS? Okay, this is another thing entirely. Okay, reframe your sentences. Reframe your approach. Reframe your approach. And then in establishing a safe place, in establishing a psychologically safe place, we have talked about the things that we need to do. Admit mistakes quickly, speak up early. And this is for, let's even talk about young professionals. You're a young professional, you're not necessarily leading anybody, right? And then you are working in a place that does not feel safe. So how can you practice psychological safety for yourself? How can you ensure that your psychological safety is preserved? One is ask questions. Ask questions. Don't keep mute. Ask questions when you need to ask questions. So instead of worrying about sounding uninformed, you're worrying about saying it the right way. Can you open up, right? Think about what you can learn. Let it be about what you can learn. Oh, I would like to learn more about this. Be open-minded. Ask questions. Could you please explain that thing further? Oh, could you please tell me more? Right? What led to this decision? Please, can you share more light? Ask questions. Be open to ask more. Ask questions. Do not let what other people are doing to erode your psychological safety, because you are first in charge. You are first responsible for your psychological safety. Speak up early. Don't die in silence. Dying in silence is you fueling your psychologically unsafe condition. Dying in silence, fueling your psychologically unsafe condition. Dying is speak up early when you should speak up. Admit mistakes quickly. When you make a mistake, please admit it. Because like I said, changing the world starts from you. By the time you're open to admitting your mistake, you will see that the next person would, oh, this person could do this. You never can tell. You are influencing others. You are influencing others. And it's so powerful that you can even influence your boss. Who feels hiding my mistake and blaming it on another person is the way to go. Right? So we can't start doing all those things because we feel that's what our boss is doing. Seek feedback. Ask for feedback. Learn to disagree respectfully. You don't say yes to everything. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. Oh, sorry, I don't agree with that. Oh, no is a complete sentence, guys. It's a complete sentence. I don't need any explanation. It's okay to say no. Very okay. And also create safety for others. Like I said, ensure that people around you feel safe around you as well. Can I have the next slide? Beautiful. So now that I've spoken to individuals, let's talk to team leads. How do we ensure that we are empowering psychological safety? Now we have their structured terms, invite dissent, credit by name, normalize questions, follow up on silence, rotate fast. All these things talk about, it just talks about inclusivity. Get everyone on the call to speak. If you're in a meeting and there's someone that's always not talking, get the person to talk. And when the person talks, celebrate the person for talking. Next time, the person would want to talk. In fact, you can make it in turns. Okay, so let's hear from you, and then we hear from you, and then from you, and then from you. Everybody speaks up in meeting. That way, you are building a psychologically safe team. And it's okay for people to disagree. Or this is I disagree, so I disagree. Allow them. Let them air their views. Let them air their views. Credit people by name. People have done something. Oh, say thank you, Jumoke. That was amazing. Credit people by name. Rotate facilitation. Today you are the one facilitating. Tomorrow it is you. That way people feel safe. They feel valued. You don't make this thing about a few persons. You know, in some teams you would have you have bosses having favorites. All those things erode psychological safety. And anybody who is always silent in the meeting, follow up. Ask the person, what is your thought? What do you think about this? Okay, are there other views? Are there other ways we can see this? What do you see differently? How else can we do this? You know, ask people questions in a very polite way, open-ended questions. Not, guys, this is what we're going to do. Did you hear me? The answer should be yes or no. That's close-ended. But if you had said, guys, This is what I'm thinking we should do. What do you think about it? That's open-ended. People are open, more open, and safe to speak. Normalize questions. If people ask questions, not the kind of stupid question is that that's a rubbish question. I know of them 18 because this person keeps coming to tell me about it. You know, the blind will tell her that stop asking that kind of nonsense questions. That's an unsafe place. That's an unsafe place. So if you're experiencing this kind of a thing in your workplace, you don't sit on it. You don't keep short. You don't keep short. Do we have more slides? Do we have more slides? Okay. So I think pretty much these are just questions we need to ask ourselves, right? Where does your team feel safest right now? So for leaders, you want to ask yourself, where does my team feel safest right now? So look at the screen and ask yourself these clear questions. Ask yourself these clear questions and you can rate yourself. And even ask yourself as an individual. Think about your friends. Think about your family members. Think about your colleagues, people who are close to you. How safe do they feel with me? How safe do people feel with me? Because sometimes you don't even know that the things you're doing are getting people to feel unsafe. And another way to drive psychologically safe place is to also seek feedback. You know, there's something I learned some time ago. You can design a form and then send out anonymously to people to share feedback about what they think about you. You know, just design it very simple for anonymous. Anonymous, you can use a Google form to do that. So for teams, there are a lot of tools you can use to figure out what people think about the workplace. I do that for my organization. I've done that for a couple of organizations, helping them to figure out how people feel truly, or how they feel about the team, how they feel about the business, how they feel about the culture. Do we have another slide? And these are questions we need to ask ourselves. Yes, beautiful. Silence may mean fear. You know, so when people are silent, that doesn't mean agreement. It could be that the person is afraid. So don't mistake silence for agreement. They say the person who is silent, there's this adage in Igbo that says, it means when you are silent, that means you agree. No. Silent doesn't mean you have concord. It could be fear. So dig deeper. Ask more questions, right? Failure doesn't mean incompetence at all times. Sometimes failure could mean it's an information. It could mean there's something else we need to learn. You know, so if we have this change of mindset, it would help us in building the psychological safety that we need to build. Vulnerability is not weakness, you know, and of course, inclusion is not just an HR initiative. Inclusion is how we show up every morning. How we show up every morning. Include people, get people to talk. If you see that person that usually feels left, get included intentionally, bring the person into the meeting, intentionally get the person to speak. You know, so pretty much this is just reflection. And at the end of the day, when we're done with this whole talk, it's about what you think about it and what you do next about it. What else? What do I need to do to ensure that people are safe around me? And I've shared an idea. You can first even to be aware how people feel around you. Maybe you want to seek feedback from your friends. You can seek anonymous feedback. If you're a team lead here, seek feedback from your team. I'm sure the HR person or the L&D person in your organization can help you to do that using some tools that will keep them anonymous so that they can air their view. But this is one thing I recommend every individual does after this call this afternoon. The next slide, please. Okay. Yes, so happy to answer your question. So as I close, if you have any question, please, it's okay to raise your hand or drop it in the chat section. So as I close, one of the biggest mistakes that young professionals make is believing they need to have all the answers. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't even have all the answers. You know, the most successful professionals are often the ones who ask thoughtful questions, they seek feedback, they admit mistakes, and they continue to learn. So I'm talking to individuals now. They continue to learn. So your voice matters. Even if you are the newest person in the room, your voice matters. Don't let fear or silence to keep you short. Don't let fear silence your growth. Don't let fear silence your growth. So as I end up, what opportunity might you be missing because you're waiting until you're more experienced before you speak up? So individuals, speak up. Team leads, give your people the opportunity to speak up. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach Oge. This has been an insightful and practical session. I love that you shared experiences. You shared even something that just happened recently, right? Thank you so much. And to every of our participants, contributing, asking questions, or giving your commentary. It's been amazing session. Thank you. So we're going to take questions, right? You can put your question in the chat box, and if you want to ask, you could raise your hand and I'll give you permission to speak. Right, but while we're waiting for your question, there is a particular tool that we want to talk about. We've heard about psychological safety, about how you can make the workplace safe for everyone and yourself as well. But there's something very important that in psychological safety that we think that we would like you to know and have access to, and we call it personality test, right? It's called the DISC personality test. It's a tool we have in Crosstie Solutions that as you're making in the workplace, you relate with every other person. But there's one thing that is really important, which is each and everyone's personality and the way we treat people differently, because people have different personality. The way you behave, the way you live, the way you communicate, the way your team members, the way they behave, the way they communicate, the way they lead, the way, everybody's behavioral pattern basically is different. And the way people feel safe is different. Yes, there is a general model to it, but there's something that's how I want to be treated is how another person might want to be treated. It's something that you do and I feel very comfortable with, I feel very safe around, while someone else will do the same thing and is sending a different message to them. So we think that as leaders, as individuals that want, the workspace to be safe for everyone, you need to understand your personality and every other people's personality. And what this tool will do for you is that you will know your pattern of communication, of your personality and everything about, who you are. Then you also understand how to relate with other personality style, right? So it brings a balance to, if I am this kind of person, this is what I need to do to make the other people or the other personality type feel comfortable and safe around me. And that's why Crosstie Solution has deployed this solution. It's called the DISC personality test, right? It takes less than 5 to 8 minutes, right? My screen is not clear enough, so just permit me to look sideways where I can give you more details about it. Yeah, it takes about 5 to 8 minutes, and you're answering about 24 questions. And for these questions, you need to answer accurately to get the accurate answer. So when you see the questions, you're answering it based on who you are right now and not who you want to be, right? So it's assessing you right now. So you're answering the question based on who you are and your perception of yourself that you are right now. So with that, you're able to generate a perfect, description of yourself and your personality. So your data is also private, and the reports, you can always download the report. So you can reach out to us. It's a tool, basically. You can reach out to us for individuals, and if you want your organization to take this test. So DISC personality test is a very interesting one. Every time we do it in training sessions, I see how people say, this is so nice. I can't believe this about myself. Wow, so this is why this has been happening. It's like a light bulb moment. People begin to understand why they do certain things. And it just helps. When you understand someone, you know how to treat them better. Someone might be you might see someone, I'm like, this person is so active. This person is always what's the word now? This person has a deep person, very domineering. But when you understand personality types and you see that, this is why this person is like this. It's like a light bulb moment. This is better. This is what I can do better to relate with this person. This is how we can collaborate. And I mean, collaboration is one thing that every workplace or every organization preach, because when people collaborate, great things happen. We're able to, like they say, teamwork make the dream work. So all of this being said is that Dick's personality test, it's the icing on the cake after learning, psychological safety. And we will want you to reach out to us. We have our contact on the screen, says consulting@crosssolutions.com. If you want to know more about Dick's personality test, or you want to take the test, you can reach out to us, whether for individuals or for your organizations. Just reach out to us and we will be glad to walk you through it and help you. Thank you so much for listening to me on Dick's personality test. So now let's go back to our psychological safety and we'd like to take questions. I know people have questions. So let's just take questions first. We'd like to take questions, 1 or 2. I want to see your hand raised. Coach Oge has said so many things. I believe that maybe she has answered, most of our questions. But you could think of a scenario at work and maybe something has happened. Maybe, you just want to dive deep into it. The floor is yours, right? We should have questions. I'm waiting.
So, Ademide, I also think that while we're waiting for people to draw questions, what are we going to do differently with what we've heard?
The reflection that we had earlier. Okay.
You can put it in the chat section. Yes. So I want people to take personal accountability and you understand. Okay. So what are you going to do differently as the ones you can share, the ones you can't share? I want to believe that you have written it down somewhere in your book, right? But we need to start taking actions from this moment. What are you going to do differently from what you've heard? In the chat section, I want to read it from each and every one of us. Why we're also expecting questions in case there are aspects you were expecting to hear and it wasn't addressed. But if everything that we address covers all your concerns, that's absolutely beautiful. So let's know what you're going to do differently from what you've heard.
Okay. We have the floor. Let's even just one thing you're going to do differently. I'm sure that we've been blessed. We've enjoyed this session. We've learned so much, and there's been a moment of relearning, right, and unlearning. So one thing you're gonna do, on the screen here you can see the one change I can make in my next meeting to open more space for others. That's one thing you can answer, right? If that's something you want to say, or there's something else that you've learned today and you think you're gonna do differently, let's hear from us. Okay, my participants today are not very responsive. Is it cold, or is it the sun, or is it the weather? What's going on? I would like to hear from you. Okay. Should we call names? Okay, I think Nan, are you still on the call? You were actually involved, so I'd like to call you. I don't know. Can you hear me, Nan? I see you dropping chat. So
Ademide.
Yes.
I also know that these kind of conversations can be very personal, okay, right? It can be very personal. So if you're not able to type what you can do differently, which I believe that there's clearly something we've decided to do differently that we may not possibly want to share. What is most striking for you? What is that lesson you're living with? Just one out of the many that you have picked this morning. Nan says that he's busy. That's absolutely fine. But you can just type, for those that listen to me, Justin, Ginika, Elizabeth, Adebisi, Moreni Keji. I didn't hear from Moreni Keji all through this session. Goodness says I'll give more ideas. Okay, yes, Ademide, please, over to you.
Okay, so Goodness says, I'll give more room for ideas to be brought up. I'll take feedback for better results personally. That's amazing. Yes, that's amazing. Give more room for ideas to be brought up, allow people talk, allow people share their ideas. And Vivian says, my approach with words. Yes. So that slide that talks about how you can rephrase your word to communicate better, to speaking better. Yes, that's amazing. Thank you, Vivian. Okay. Who else? Noah, top management CEO tends to downplay the suggestions of supervisor and other workers. In our various homes, husbands tend to suppress the voice of their wives. That's my question. Okay, over to you, Coach Oge. I'm not sure his question is direct still.
Okay, so I understand. I'm trying to top management tend to downplay suggestions of supervisors, and now various husbands tend to suppress the voices of their wives. Okay, so is your question? Your question is it why are they doing this, or how can the wives navigate this? So
I think it should be how to navigate, because I mean these people are not here, so we can't really talk to them.
Okay. So if in terms of how to navigate, yes, clearly just be aware that this thing is happening, right? Be aware how do wives navigate it. Thank you, Noah. Be aware that these things are happening. One is awareness, right? Recognize the fact that this is the situation. From recognizing the fact that this is the situation, and then seek how best to ask the person questions around how you feel. Seek how best to ask the person questions around how you feel. First, recognize it, and then, very important, do not internalize. So it's not about you, it's about the person. That's one thing I want us to do. It's not about you. If somebody is shutting you down, and somebody is speaking badly and not giving you space to speak, it's not about you, it's about the person. So don't internalize it, because when you internalize it, it tends to get to your mind, and can make you feel less of yourself. So do not internalize it. And then it may be helpful to find safe channels to express yourself. So for husband and wife, safe channel could be finding a better time to speak with your husband, right? It could be speaking to a coach, a trusted marriage coach, or speaking, if you're a Christian, speaking to your pastor, if you're a Muslim, speaking to your imam. But find a safe place to air your view. It's important you air your view. Very important. Don't lock it up. Don't ignore it as if nothing is happening. It will get to you one day. And then it's important to ask questions. So when you're having conversation with your wife, with your husband as the wife, do not accuse the person. Don't say you do this every now and then. Just ask questions. Is there a reason you would prefer I don't speak at this time? Is there a reason? Is there a better way I can ask? Are there better times you think I can ask you questions when I need answers? So find a way to ask questions and not accusing the person. Very important. And also build community around yourself. So if you're a wife and you're passing through this kind of a thing in your home, I know how terrible it can be. Do not shut down, internalize it, and then you're sulking inside. Build healthy allies. Build healthy allies. Be part of a community where women can speak up, where you can find women that will help you or support you, encourage you. For some people, it's their church. For some people, it's their mosque. For some people, it's some other secular communities. Build healthy allies. And of course, if it gets so intense, just know when it's safe to walk away. Sometimes it gets to a point, especially for those if you're in an organization, it gets to a point that you should tell yourself, I think I've done all I need to do, but at this point, maybe it's safer to walk away. Just know it. But do not let that thing, don't internalize, don't make it about your person, because it's not you. The person will still do it to another person, so it's not you. That's one thing we need to clarify. So I don't know if this answered your question, Noah.
I hope so. So Adebisi says, I will speak more on behalf of staff members. I'll also urge them to open up more and instead of being silent. Yes, I think urging them to speak up more. I mean, you've also learned here that it's good to speak up. So also encouraging people around you to speak more. Thank you. So we have a question here from Sheon Joseph. Says, I would like to accessible. Okay, I think it meant I would like to be accessible to people, to your direct reporting, people under you, right? With that, I'll be able to hear and see the real them and possible ways to help. Okay. Okay.
It's not a question, actually. She's just sharing, or he,
Sharing.
just
Yeah.
sharing, yes.
Okay, so I have a question. So the question goes thus, right? How can people who are not in leadership position, especially entry levels or junior staffs, when it comes to psychological safety, people feel like it should come from leadership, it should come from the HR, it should come from managers. But in the real sense, you're actually relating with your team members, right? More of the times. So they do more of the psychological safety than the HR or the leadership team. How can someone who doesn't have quote and unquote much should I say does not have a leadership role, does not have maybe direct reporting or anything, right? Does not have any authority or whatsoever, how can they actively make sure that they are creating a psychological, safe place for their team members?
Okay, thank you, Ademide, for that question. While I was speaking, I had mentioned because every one of us will have a responsibility. So this is not a leadership responsibility only. Leadership have their own work cut out for them. Followers, permit me to use that word, or team members, everyone will have our responsibilities cut out for us. So as an individual, how do you ensure that people are safe around you? That's your question, right?
Yes.
First is how you communicate with them. Somebody has said, I would work on my use of words. Your use of words with people. When I was speaking, I talked about people being sarcastic. Sometimes that sarcasm can scare people away from us. You want to be sarcastic, you want to be funny, but at the same time, you're injuring someone in a place that is bad. Because sometimes we don't see the wounds people carry. We don't see those wounds. They are emotional wounds people are carrying that you don't see. And your words can hurt those wounds. And more importantly, is learning about the people we are working with. Know them well enough. And how do you know people? By asking them questions. Know people beyond the workplace, especially if you're working with this person every day. Know them beyond the workplace, because somebody can say, I didn't know she was passing through that, and that was why I said it. If you know that person beyond the workplace, you would know that this person is struggling with trauma. You will know that this person is struggling with challenges at home. So there are certain words you don't use for them. So one, get to know your team, get to know people around, especially those people that work with you every day. Get to know them beyond the workplace. And how do you know them? Ask them questions. Be interested in them. Be interested in what they do after work. Communicate with them. Also be vulnerable with them, because it's only when you're vulnerable with people that they can be vulnerable with you. Be vulnerable with them. So you're not placing yourself at a level that seems like you're a perfect person. It's important to show that I make mistakes as well. That would give room for people to approach you, and whenever they have issues, they're able to approach you. And that way they feel safer. They feel safer with you. The choice of what you're using, and of course, how open you are with receiving their feedback. The person comes to give you feedback of what you've done. Receive that feedback. Receive it. Receive it in good faith. Even if you don't think it is right, appreciate the person for taking out the time to come and give you that feedback, because not everybody will do it. Receive the feedback and then ask more questions around what the person thinks. You can clarify if there is need to, but receiving feedback would help people to come closer to you, and feel a bit more safe with you.
I mean, vulnerability and avoid sarcasm. I think sarcasm, that one is very spot on. Some people are very friendly. They throw their words around. I feel like people should understand sarcasm, but not everybody understands sarcasm. Not everyone is good with it. And even at the moment, they could smile and just laugh with you because they know that you're trying to be funny. But later on, the words are biting them because, like you said, you don't know where people are hurting. So please, I think that one is very spot on. Anyone here that is very, good with sarcasm and you feel like everyone should understand. It's like, let's just put a balance. Not everyone is good with sarcasm. Not everyone understands it. Thank you so much. So Olatokunbo says that, thank you, Coach Oge. Leadership is equal to followership. Amazing. Okay, so we have had a beautiful session. And before we go, I'd like two people, since we don't have questions, that's amazing, right? Two people, maybe a male and a female, or anyhow, anybody, to just say thank you. Tell us what you've learned. Tell us how the session has been. We want to get that on the call. I don't know, maybe this is your first time meeting Coach Oge and then learning about psychological safety. Let's hear from you, basically. We want to hear from you. Okay, Victor, you can speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, good afternoon. I wish to appreciate the organizers of this cross tie to Coach Oge for this wonderful class that we have had. When I thought I was being a good boss, I never knew there were other things I really needed to really learn. I learned about silence, not just meaning consent. It also brings out some fears. People do not want to speak. And I'm happy to have been part of this. In fact, my brother, when he was living with me, he experienced something like this from his boss in Abuja then. It was really terrible. A boss who you cannot give your suggestions to. In fact, he has fired somebody for giving suggestions that was contrary to his own point of view. And he said the person was being an insubordination. So my brother had to resign before they fire him because he also is somebody who doesn't keep quiet where things are going wrong. So I'm really happy because I learned from that, and I've learned more from you again. And I've tried to, because I'm a project manager and I lead a team of about 15 persons, and I try to be on track, not trying to really please them, but being firm and also being emotionally intelligent. That's a good one I've learned from you. Thank you so much. Personally, I'm really happy to be in this class. I learned about this about an hour to the class, and I made sure I registered for it so that I'll be part of it. Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Thank you so much, Victor. We really appreciate you as well. So one more person. Okay, so goodness say, Ma, thank you so much for this session. It's been great. But please, I beg to leave now. Okay. Thank you so much, goodness. Thank you for the knowledge passed. I really appreciate and look forward to more of these opportunities to gain more knowledge. All right. Great. Okay, so we have one question from someone. I guess the person could not type it here. So the person is in our group, and the person says, we'll only take one of your questions, please. He or she says, how do we deal with a boss that's temperamental? So I'm guessing you meant someone that has a high temperament or anger issues.
My goodness, I'm laughing because I know how that can be. I know how that can be. A boss who is temperamental, and the person is expressing that kind of attitude in the workplace. That's absolutely unprofessional. It's an unprofessional behavior from the boss. Who is being temperamental. I've heard of people who would bang the table. They're screaming at their line reports. Some would insult them in front of customers. Intimidate, embarrass them. We see all these things in the workplace, and it's just so bad. It's unprofessional. It's not unacceptable, and no one should accept it. Why you are not going to face the person, in a banter, but there are professional ways to handle it. So for a boss who is temperamental, find out, first would be identify that clearly it's not about me. This boss is not just angry with me. It's not my behavior necessarily. It's because this person has a temperament issue. just know that it gives you a level of peace. Because where it becomes terrible is where we are feeling like, this boss is because I'm this, and then it starts affecting what you think about yourself. You start feeling like you're not good enough, right? So ensure, my first response is always ensure that you do not internalize this. So you know the way you're pouring water on a rock, it doesn't get into the rock, it just pours out, it flows out. So that way, and it's just your mindset, your perspective. Just know that this boss is temperamental. How do you approach it? Give the person the feedback. Find a good time, one-on-one, politely, right, to share that feedback with the person, to let the person know how it impacts you, most especially, and then let the person know what you would recommend in a pleasant way. A coach can help walk you through this thing, depending on what the situation is and what the context is for you. The approach may likely differ, or you need to give that feedback to your boss. When you give that feedback, and it's looking like the person is not receiving the feedback, you may want to escalate to HR. Find a way to escalate to HR, right? So when it gets to a point where it's not looking like there's a solution for this and it's affecting you, affecting your work, it gets to a point where you should know when it is time to say goodbye. It was nice doing business with you, because we've seen that when people leave organizations, they're not leaving organizations, they're pretty much leaving their bosses, right? So give that feedback to your boss in a very polite manner. Escalate, because I'm sure that if you have an HR system where you can escalate things, maybe anonymously or even just with the HR person, but the HR should be discreet enough to handle it in a mature manner, But giving that feedback is very important. Don't just keep it. Don't keep taking it in. You take it and it gets to a level where you see it as a norm, and it's impacting your mental health. Give feedback, and then when it is time and you think you can't, it's time for you to leave. Please leave, and leave amicably. Anytime you're leaving an organization, leave what? Amicably. Leave professionally, regardless of what you have experienced in that organization. So that would be my recommendation for the person that may be experiencing this.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. So we've come to the end of this session, but before we go, we have our resource vaults, like we always like to share with you. We have on our website resources for you. We have different books where you can read. It's for sale actually, but for everyone that joins our webinar, you get 30% off your first purchase. You could decide to read a book on personal and career growth. You could read a book on protecting yourself. You could read a book on building your personal brand, how to influence people, how to influence your boss, right? These books are there for you to read, and you get 30% off your first purchase because you attended our webinar. So if you want to purchase our book, you could reach out to the admin on our community, which I'm going to get there very soon, and tell us you want to purchase a book, and then we send you the code for you to get the 30% discount. Right? Okay. This is very important. We've enjoyed the session, we've stayed to the end. We would like to hear your feedback. We'd like to hear from you. Tell us how the session was. Tell us what other topics you like us to discuss, right? Tell us, the things we did better and the things you would like to see more of, or the things we need to improve on. We definitely like to hear from you. And not just hearing from you, your feedback is attached to your certificate. The fact that you joined this session, this is more than an hour. This is about an hour, 30 minutes. We'd like to give you a certificate for joining, because we believe that you've learned something very tangible. But you can only get your certificate when you fill the feedback form. So it's very important, and I would like you to please fill the feedback form, right? You can just scan the. It's also be dropped in the chat box if you're unable to scan, because I believe people are using their phone, right? you can always check the chat box and click on any of the links. The links to the Resolve Vault is there, the links to the feedback form, and also our community, which I'll be sharing just now. Our community, we have a WhatsApp community called the Knowledge Hub, Crossline Knowledge Hub, where everyone comes up, everyone that has experienced us or wants to experience more of us can also join, right? We get to post things about our webinar, upcoming webinars. We share, academic and what's it called now? Professional, resources, right? The last webinar we had a video from the webinar and it was shared to the community where people can also read, learn, study, and then very soon we're going to be filling the community with more opportunities like job opportunities, career growth, and several opportunities that are coming your way. So please join the Knowledge Hub. We'd like to have you in our community. It's been a wonderful session with you guys rather. And we've had a very beautiful session with you. Please do not forget the feedback form. And once again, I'd like to say a very big thank you on behalf of Crossline Solution to Coach Oge. Thank you for sharing with us from your world of knowledge. Thank you for a practical and insightful session. Yes, I say that again, very, very practical. Like you shared your experiences, you shared what we can do, to be better. And thank you to our participants as well for being very engaging. Thank you so much. Nan says thank you. Nana said he is very busy at the moment, but you still take out your time to type in the chat box. It's been a beautiful session. Thank you once again, Coach Oge, and thank you everyone for being here. Thank you. And yes, if you want to know more about the DICS personality test that was spoken about earlier, we have our email address in the chat box. You can use that to reach out to us. We're willing, and we're happy to guide you through the process. Thank you once again, everyone. I'm just going to leave the chat box open, right, so that we can still click on the feedback form if we have not done that, and also join our Knowledge Hub, which is our WhatsApp community, where we get more updates about CrossStyle, about our upcoming webinars, and every other resources that we share. You can also check our website and learn more about us, right? I said earlier that we're a people development and management consulting firm, whereas we have consulting initiative and solutions, right? We also do trainings for organizations. We worked with people in the finance, department, oil and gas, FMCGs, and many more, manufacturing, many more organizations that we've worked with, and it will be a delight to also work with you. You could tell your leadership team, or bring us, there are a lot of leaders on this call. You could go on our website, get to learn more about us. Every month we have a program we call OEP, that's the Open Executive Programs, where we teach, we have trainings on various various core areas in the organization for leaders, right? So we have that every month. We have trainings every month. You could register, or even nominate your team members to also register them for the program, and we owe that every month. If you go on our website, you get to see more about us, and we would like to be in touch with you. Once again, final note. Feedback form is very important. It gives you access to your certificate. And when you fill the form, it gives you access to your certificate and also access to the recording of this session. Thank you so much, everyone. I want to believe that we have filled the feedback form, and we are also joining the community. It's been a wonderful session. Till we meet again in our next webinar. Bye, everyone.